All right, let's talk about the movie Idiocracy. You've almost certainly heard of it, right? And what's wild is that it wasn't some huge blockbuster. I mean, it barely even got a real theatrical release. But somehow, Mike Judge's 2006 comedy has become this massive cult classic, one of the most debated movies of the internet age. Even now, almost 2 decades on, it just lights up forums with these super intense arguments. So that's what we're going to dig into today. Why can't we stop talking about this film?
Yeah, I'm willing to bet you've seen this exact quote posted somewhere online. It pops up as a comment, it's been turned into countless memes. It's almost like a warning. And that single sentence? It gets right to the core of why this movie has had such a wild, unexpected afterlife. It's the hook that kicks off this huge, sprawling debate about, well, where our world is actually heading.
So how does a movie that many people wrote off as just some throwaway comedy get so polarizing? Seriously, if you dig into any online forum about Idiocracy, you'll find a community that is just completely split down the middle. There's like no middle ground at all when people talk about this film's quality or what it's trying to say.
I mean, the opinions couldn't be more extreme. You've got one side calling it genius, an incredibly sharp piece of philosophical sci-fi, and then on the other side, it's just a poorly written, unfunny, and annoying total misfire. It's either brilliant or it's complete garbage. So what in the world is this movie about that makes people react so fiercely?
Well, that brings us right to the film's central idea. It's a concept that users have kind of lovingly, I guess, nicknamed the Great Dumb Down. So here's the premise, and as fans lay it out, it's pretty simple and, honestly, pretty brutal. It kicks off by showing intelligent people, right? They're all caught up in their careers, they're overthinking everything, and they just keep putting off having kids. Meanwhile, folks who are, let's say, less intelligent are reproducing enthusiastically, a lot. Then, this top-secret military hibernation experiment goes totally haywire, and our main character, an average Joe, wakes up 500 years in the future. He finds out that this trend didn't just continue, it completely took over, creating a society of, well, morons, where he is, by a mile, the smartest man alive.
And this quote right here, it absolutely nails the core idea that gets people so fired up. It's this concept of a reverse evolution, where natural selection just stops favoring intelligence and instead starts rewarding, well, just sheer reproductive output. The key thing to grasp here isn't that society is becoming less educated. That's a different argument. The film's point is that it's becoming fundamentally dumber.
Okay, and this is where the whole conversation totally shifts. It goes from being just film criticism to something that feels way more urgent. This is where the idea that Idiocracy isn't just a movie, but a prophecy, really takes hold.
So is it? Is our world actually turning into idiocracy? I mean, this is the question that fuels thousands upon thousands of online comments. For a whole lot of viewers, what was supposed to be a far-fetched, ridiculous future now feels terrifyingly familiar. For the people who really do see it as a prophecy, the signs are just everywhere. They're pointing to our politics and leadership, they're looking at our consumer and corporate culture, our media, our entertainment, and especially social media trends. They see it in how public discourse has just crumbled, and in this growing, widespread rejection of science. To them, the parallels aren't just there, they're undeniable.
And one of the examples from the movie that gets brought up constantly is the most popular film in that future world. It's called Ass, and that's literally what it is, just 90 minutes of a man's backside. And it won 8 Oscars. Commenters always point to this as a perfect, maybe a little crude, but perfect satire of the kind of stuff that trends on social media, or becomes the next big reality TV hit.
This comment from a user just captures that feeling perfectly. It's this sense that all the ridiculous, absurd things from the movie aren't just on the screen anymore. It feels like they're bleeding into real life, You see it in the news headlines, you see it in what's trending online, and you just got that little shiver of recognition.
And of course, then there's President Camacho. He's this smack-talking former pro wrestler who's now running the country. And it's really important to point out here that users from all across the political spectrum, left, right, and center, are the ones drawing these parallels. They see similarities between his style and the behavior of actual real-world politicians. This suggests it's not really about one specific person, but more about a bigger cultural shift in what society values in its leader.
But of course, not everyone buys into this idea. Not at all.
There's a really strong pushback online from users who argue that this whole prophecy narrative is just deeply flawed. They say it's based on a total misunderstanding of both science and society, and that the film gets the problem completely wrong.
Okay, so the most common scientific counter-argument people bring up is something called the Flynn effect. And this is a real thing. It's the observed, documented phenomenon that shows IQ scores were actually rising steadily for generations all through the 20th century. This, of course, directly challenges the movie's entire core premise of a genetic decline in our intelligence.
But other people offer an even more nuanced critique. This user makes a really sharp point. The film makes a critical mistake by confusing ignorance with low intelligence, and those are two very different things. The people in the movie's future aren't just uneducated. The film portrays them as being pathologically, fundamentally incapable of critical thought. And that's a very simplistic idea. For some, it veers uncomfortably close to eugenics. You know, that really dangerous idea that you can solve society's problems by just breeding better or smarter people.
So to really boil it down, the heart of the counter-argument is this. Maybe the film just gets the cause completely wrong. Instead of our IQs dropping, this user suggests that the real danger isn't our intelligence at all. It's our own primitive human emotions and instincts. Things like tribalism, our gut reactions, being supercharged and amplified by modern technology and propaganda. From this point of view, you could have a society full of high IQ people that's still incredibly dangerous because they're being driven by all the wrong things.
Okay, so we have these two camps, right? You've got the people who see a prophecy unfolding, and you've got the people who see a deeply flawed joke. Which brings us to the final and maybe most important question. If the movie is so divisive, why does it still have such a powerful grip on us? Why can't we look away?
Someone on a forum posted these lyrics from the band Pain of Salvation, and they just perfectly capture the strange power of this movie. It's that feeling, isn't it? That feeling of seeing something really deeply unsettling about the world around you. Something you almost wish you could just ignore and forget about. But you can't. You just can't close your eyes.
And I think that's really the key to the whole thing. In the end, it doesn't really matter if you think the film is a work of genius or a piece of garbage. Its enduring power comes from the fact that it holds up a mirror to our collective anxiety. It taps directly into our deepest fears about society. Fears about a dumbing down, about political decay, and about a culture that increasingly seems to value shouting over thinking.
So ultimately, the real question isn't whether the movie is going to come true in 500 years. The debate itself forces us to ask something much more immediate and maybe a lot more uncomfortable. Which parts of it are already here? Is Idiocracy a warning we should be taking seriously? Is it just a flawed joke we should laugh off? Or is it a distorted mirror reflecting back the world that we, all of us, are creating right now? That's what makes this comedy so serious. Thanks for watching The Explainer.